Hey there, welcome to the course. I have a ton to say, but first, I just want to add, please do not skip this section. I know it's tempting to go ahead to installation or dive into the code, but this course has multiple starting points, and this section will help you understand where you should start based off of your computer you're using and also your experience level. I know this intro stuff is not the most enthralling content ever, so I have thrown in some adorable photos of my cats. Here's one. Just look at those eyes, right? So I'll introduce myself very quickly. My name's Colt. I have some emojis here. That's me as a developer, me as a teacher. I have cats. I prefer dogs. Sorry, cats. Prefer dogs. I live in San Francisco, and music. Yeah, how unique. I like music. So this is me and one of my cats. I've been teaching people how to code in all sorts of different languages for 5+ years in person at bootcamp programs in the Bay Area and then online on platforms like Udemy. Okay, enough about me. Let's talk about you. So Python is a really broad topic, and I decided to make this course not only as comprehensive as possible, but I wanted to make it open to as many different skill levels as possible. Whether you're a complete programming newbie, you've never written a line of code in your life, or you've written some other languages and you just want some help translating over to Python, or you have experience with Python already, but you feel like it's not complete, or you want more practice with exercises, this course can help you out. Of course, the experience you have will be significantly different depending on your skill level, and I address that in the exercises video later in this intro section. And as a side note, this course is not particularly focused around building websites or data science or automating things or machine learning or game development or anything like that. It's a broad course, but the goal is that you should be able to take this course and go on to learn any of those topics that are built on top of Python. The last thing we'll talk about in this video is a rough walkthrough of the curriculum. We start off with the very basics of installing Python, getting up and running with the command line or PowerShell, getting your editor going. Then we move on to the basics of the Python language. We start with really simple stuff like variables, data types, Boolean and conditional logic. We build a couple versions of rock, paper, scissors, and then we move on to things like loops and building some simple games with loops. Then we talk about data structures, lists, dictionaries. We have a ton of exercises for each, tuples and sets. Then we get to functions, which is a really important part of the course. I've already talked about this in the promotional video, but if we look at the functions section, it's full of exercises. It's hard to tell on the curriculum view here, but each one of these little bracket symbols means it indicates an exercise. So you can see there's a ton of them in this section. These are videos. And then following it, there's this entire section of exercises. So there's a ton of exercises as we go. Functions part 2. We move on to, there's a whole other problem set for functions as well. Then just some trickier topics like lambdas and built-in functions. Debugging and error handling. How do we raise our own exceptions? We talk about modules, and this is a fun section. We work with external libraries, tools that other developers have written to help us do some cool things. We start working with HTTP requests, connecting with APIs. I did make this section optional. If you have no interest in the web world, you don't care about how Python talks to an API like Facebook or something, then you can skip this. It doesn't really come back up until the very end of the course in another optional section. Then we talk about two topics that are kind of notorious in Python, generators and decorators. A lot of courses shy away from topics like this, and I've done my best to make it as accessible as possible. Lots of exercises, as you can see. Then we talk about OOP, object-oriented programming. Really big topic. OOP starts here, and we finish up down here. So there's a ton of content between these sections on object-oriented programming. We build a little application. Continuing down, we talk about testing and test-driven development. There's a lot of different ways of, if you're familiar with testing, a lot of different ways of testing in Python. We cover a bunch of them. Then we talk about file I/O. So this is a fun topic. How do we connect Python to files? How do we save data to a file? But more importantly, how do we read in data from, let's say, some sort of CSV file containing crime statistics or government data? How would you read that in to analyze it using Python? And then finally, we get to my personal favorite topic, which is web scraping. If you're not familiar with scraping, it's the idea of writing code that goes to a website that doesn't have a publicly available API. We crawl across hundreds of different web pages, potentially, or thousands, and we extract data from those websites. So we build our own crawler, our own spider using Python that goes online and extracts book data from an e-commerce website about hundreds of books, prices, titles, links, that sort of thing, and then it saves them all in a file to be analyzed. So the course covers a ton of material, as you can see. Each one of these sections, almost all of them have 5+ exercises. Some of them have 20 exercises. It's a lot. And frankly, it was more work to make those exercises, to write all the code that goes into them, all the testing logic, than it was for me to record 20-something hours, 25 hours of video, something like that. So hopefully you enjoy having all those exercises at your disposal. All right, so that's the curriculum. In the next video, I'm going to answer a really important question, which is why does this course cover Python 3? How is it different than Python 2? And why does it matter? So that's next.